This is day 66 of my 6-mark challenge for the AQA GCSE Science exams. In the run up to the exams, every Monday, Wednesday and Friday, I'm posting a new question so that you can practice answering these extended responses. If you look in the description below, you'll find a link to all of the questions so far and also the playlist with all of the videos going through the answers. Today's question is a method question in which you need to describe how to perform an investigation to measure the impact of different surfaces on the absorbance of infrared radiation. Now, as I keep saying, these extended response questions are not essay questions. So your ideas need to be in a logical order, but not necessarily in full sentences, because there aren't any marks in GCSE Science for writing in paragraphs or even full sentences or even your spelling, as long as we can tell what you mean. It is a good idea to lay your answer out in a really logical way, so that might mean using bullet points or numbered lists, particularly for methods like this one, or even using a table if that's appropriate. So if you haven't done so already, pause the video and give yourself 6 minutes to answer this 6-mark question. Method questions like this one are a really good example of questions that are level marked. And what that means is that your marker is not just looking for you to say 6 true relevant things, they're also looking for you to hit certain criteria. So in the case of an investigation, it's almost always the case that you're not going to be able to get 5 or 6 marks if you haven't talked about changing the independent variable, if you haven't talked about measuring the dependent variable, and if you haven't identified at least one control variable, and sometimes it's more than one control variable, in order that you can get some valid data. And that might seem a little bit harsh because you're thinking, well, surely if I've said 6 true things, I should get 6 marks. But if you've missed out one of those things, then you're going to end up with an investigation that isn't valid and doesn't actually help you to answer the question. So first of all, let's just think about the things that you absolutely have to do in order for this method to work, because they're going to be our sort of basics and non-negotiables. So firstly, we're going to take a series of containers that are the same size and they're the same shape, but they've got these different surfaces. So that's satisfying both the fact that my marker needs me to talk about controlling some variables, so the size and the shape, and also the fact that we're going to need to change the independent variable. We've already said right at the outset, we've got these different surfaces. Then another variable that we need to control is the distance of those containers from our infrared lamp or our infrared light source, because if one was closer, then it would inevitably absorb more infrared radiation. Then another thing that we're going to need to control is that we're going to pour the same volume of water into each container or into each flask. Technically speaking, we could do the maths to work out, well, if this one's temperature has gone up by this much and it has this much water in it, then how much energy has it actually absorbed? But it's a lot easier and more straightforward if they all contain the same volume of water. And likewise, it's also going to be easier for us if we have the same starting temperature of water. So once we've done all of that, we're going to make sure that we've done something to block the top of each flask, and this is to prevent evaporation and therefore heat transfer by convection. Then we're going to turn on our infrared lamp, and then we're going to measure the temperature at various intervals for a time period. So as with lots of the questions, it doesn't really matter what your interval is. You could say every 10 seconds, you could say every minute, but we just want to make that point that we are measuring at regular intervals for a sensible length of time. So we're going to need to have covered all of those things in order to get into level 3 and get our 5 or 6 marks. But the difference between a 5-mark answer and a 6-mark answer is about whether you're providing some additional detail. So for instance, you might say that the reason that we want to keep the size and the shape the same of the containers is so that the surface area is the same. Or you might say that we want the distances to the lamp to all be the same so that the intensity of the infrared radiation is the same on each one of these flasks. Or we might talk about the fact that we want the same volume of water in each flask so that the temperature is increasing at the same rate. And basically so that we can use temperature as a surrogate for infrared absorption rather than having to do some maths to actually work it out directly. I'll be back again on Monday with another method question, this time for GCSE biology. Don't forget there's a link in the description below to all of the questions so far and also all of the videos in the playlist so that you can check that you are getting full marks for all of these extended response questions. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you again on Monday for day 67 of this 6-mark challenge. If you are finding these videos useful, then don't forget to like and subscribe for more GCSE Science revision videos coming soon.